Daniel, terrible news. Meghan Markle is not coming to the ceremony where Charles wears his mum's sparkly hat and some men in smocks say some boring things and then everyone in a royal street party runs inside to get out of the rain. That Meghan is not coming is an outrageous display of disrespect to His Majesty the King. If she was coming, of course, that would also have been an outrageous display of disrespect to His Majesty the King. Meanwhile, ministers are refusing to negotiate with greedy Marxist, enemy of the people doctors because the country cannot afford their demands. These same ministers are also suggesting, in the event of them getting fired at the next election, that their golden goodbye should be something in six figures, a minimum 400% increase in compensation. Doctors are being greedy, asking for 30%. MPs are quite right to demand 400%.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Well, let's get back to it.
Britons will get their first taste of summer over the coming days, with temperatures likely to breach 68 degrees Fahrenheit for the first time this year. Wow. And for those young people who Fahrenheit's the right one. But for those young people who hate this country and insist on European surrender temperatures, then I will translate His Majesty's Fahrenheit into centigrade for you. Let's see now, it's just mental arithmetic. An idiot could do it. You double it and add 32 to get from Fahrenheit to centigrade. So 68 Fahrenheit is 68 times 2 is 178. And 178 plus 32 is 220. Blimey, it's going to be 220 degrees centigrade this weekend. Can you believe that?
No.
But before we get there, showers and longer spells of rain are expected across much of England and Wales, bringing a stormy week to a close before a mostly dry weekend. Mostly. The Met Office expects it to be quite cool tomorrow. It's going to be cool.
Groovy.
Wear your coolest threads. Purple looks great on you. Going to be quite cold tomorrow, but on Sunday it's expected to be warmer in London and the southeast, warmer than Rome or Nice or Barcelona. Wherever they are. Met Office spokesmodel Steve said, temperatures are turning much milder through the weekend. The theme for next week is it'll be mostly dry, with temperatures above average. That's the theme. Next week's got a theme. Met Office spokesmodel Steve said the temperatures will feel quite pleasant. He said the warmest temperatures are likely to be in the eastern and some northern regions. Yeah, well, not that northern region, I bet. Not the northwest, I bet. Checking while you wait. Blimey. Well, this is the forecast for Glasgow, and the forecast for this minute says that it is not raining. Nor will it be raining tomorrow. In fact, you might get some sun tomorrow. It will not be raining on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. Pfft, rubbish. A week without raining? I don't believe it. But, and it's a huge but, rain will return. Normal service will be resumed Saturday the 22nd, when it will be raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining every day for the rest of your lives. Damn it! Oh well. Never mind. Where was I? Ah, yes, a dry and bright start to tomorrow with early sunshine, but cloud will build during the day with the risk of rain across Northern Ireland. The outlook for Sunday, mainly dry but cloudy. Monday, largely dry, lots of sunshine. Lots of sunshine. Wow, how about that? So now it's getting better. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
Rain in the northwest at first. This is the next couple of weeks. At first, rain in the northwest. And then sunny spells. Rather warm for many, especially in the west, but a chilly breeze in the south. That's the next couple of weeks. And then, this is I suppose we're in the last 2 weeks of April. Blimey, it's just flying by, isn't it? I'm not totally done with Christmas yet. Almost at the end of April. We're practically a third of the way through the year. It's slipping through our fingers. So the last 2 weeks of April, Most places staying dry, sunny spells, best of those towards the north and the west. The north and the west. Best of the sunny spells to the north and the west. Blimey. Feeling warm for most with fine and dry conditions. Temperatures mostly rather warm, except eastern coastal areas, which will remain otherwise. Then, first 2 weeks of May. Okay, so now it gets serious. Could go either way. May. Good luck, everyone. Fingers crossed. First 2 weeks of May. Settled weather and clearer, drier conditions with temperatures trending above average. Settled weather and clearer and drier conditions with temperatures trending above average? We'll take it. Texts and tweets and emails and such, of which there are 4 pages already, and I haven't even started yet. How do these people get my number? Ahmed emails, I hope you're sitting down for this devastating news, Nick. I read that the Kuwaiti news channel has invented the world's first AI newsreader. The days of you and Smug having your own shows could soon be over. Well, no one will miss his show. He doesn't know anything.
I don't know anything.
Doesn't know anything.
I don't know anything.
You know better than he does. He doesn't know anything.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
A Kuwaiti news channel has invented the world's first AI newsreader.
Affirmative.
All of our jobs are about to be terminated. Rob says, please remind people to register voter ID. They have until 5 p.m. on April the 25th, and then time will be up. That's right. Wake up, kids. It's later than you think. If you haven't got voter ID, then you'll need to apply for it by 5 p.m. That's the afternoon on April the 25th. Don't do it on April the 26th, because that'll be too late. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do right now, this instant, I mean it. If you go online, have you seen the internet? Oh, the stuff you'll find on there.
Disgusting.
On the internet, you'll also find how to register for voter ID, because if you don't, then you won't get to vote. And that's their little scheme, isn't it? Guilty.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Exactly. I believe you, Dominic Raab. You must register for your voter ID. In fact, I'm just going to say that on repeat now for the next 3 hours. Every day until the 25th of May, whenever that is. What's the date? What's the date? Hello?
25th.
It's the 25th now.
No, it's the 14th now.
The 14th. Just as I suspected. The 14th, so it's the 25th is the last day. So you've got only 16 days to do it. Don't delay, do it today. Or tomorrow. I mean, it's the weekend tomorrow. Maybe you do it on No, of course not Sunday, because you've got that thing. And maybe Monday. First thing Monday. Well, not first thing Monday, but after lunch on Monday. So we could do it on Tuesday. Oh, next week's fine. Kay emails, Ian, Nick, we've been listening to your consumer rights this evening. My consumer rights? And because you ain't been on this week, we reckon you owe us 1,294 jokes. And rather than take you to a small claims court and ruin your reputation, we reckon you could give us a total of 1,783 jokes in total this evening. Do it or I'll see you in court, and our advisor Dean is good. Right. I think I called him Daniel at the top of the hour, didn't I? Something like that. It doesn't matter. Daryl says, I'm fed up with these militant lefty NHS types holding the country to ransom and trying to bully the poor government ministers into submission. Quite ridiculously, they want their pay restored to 2008 levels, but back in 2008, nurses were all living in palaces and driving Lamborghinis. At least that's my recollection, says Daryl. Yes, well, that is quite true. Militant union activists are trying to bring this government down, and while it's trying to do its best by the NHS. Prime Minister Fishy Sunak suggested there should be a greater role for the private sector in the NHS as he set out how he wanted to win voters' trust on the issue. Ha! I don't think you can do both. You can't tell people that you're in the process of selling off the NHS and that they should also trust you. You can't have both, Fishy. Pick one. Slippery Fishy has made cutting waiting lists one of his top priorities.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
It's his focus. It's his number one focus. Official figures showed an estimated 7.22 million people were waiting to start routine hospital treatment at the end of February, the highest total since records began in 2007. That number again, 7.22 million people waiting. and waiting and waiting. And when you're waiting, of course, then you've been ill a considerable time before you got on a waiting list. Because, well, there will have been all of that time where you thought, oh, it'll just go away. I'll just hobble through it. Don't mind me. It's just a flesh wound. So you waited ages before you went to the doctor because you thought, well, it's going to take forever to see the GP. And once you actually couldn't stand it anymore, then you called up your GP and he says, I'll see you straight away in a month. And so you go in a month, and then he thinks about it for 6 weeks, and then he puts you on a waiting list. You've been on a waiting list a year before you've been on a waiting list. 7.22 million people. You know, if only we hadn't been run by a Labour government under the disastrous premiership of Jeremy Corbyn these past 13 years, then the NHS would be in better shape. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. You see what you've done? Mr Sunak said the Tories should not be hung up about making the case for greater private sector involvement to help provide competition in the health service. Competition. It's always about competition with this lot. Except it isn't really competition that they're interested in. I mean, they opened up the railways to competition, which meant just gifting private companies monopolies on different lines. If you're going from here to there, there's only one rail company that can do it. That's not competition, that's a monopoly. They sold off our water and gave it as monopolies to private companies. If you don't like the fact that your local water company is spewing hot sewage all over you, then there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go to another water company because they gifted them monopolies. They're not interested in competition. They're interested in taking what is the ours and doling it out to corporations to run as monopolies. They sold off our gas and oil for a quick buck, and the only thing we got was higher bills. Norwegians, meanwhile, are living lives like Norwegians. They've got so much money they can hardly count. Plus, they get to have a hot Norwegian interface with each other.
Disgusting.
Asked whether European systems offered better outcomes, the Prime Minister said the NHS was the country's #1 public service priority.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities.
I'm comforted by that. Are you comforted by that?
No.
Not really. It's our #1 priority, he said. He said, our job is to make sure we're trusted with it. That's Fishy Sunak said that. Our job is to make sure that we, the Conservative Party, is trusted with the NHS. How's that going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
The latest NHS England figures showed that the number waiting for more than a year and a half for treatment has dropped from 45,631 to 29,778. That's a month-on-month fall of 35%. Which should excite Mr. Numbers Person.
And 1.
Yes.
2.
3.
11.
No. A month-on-month fall of 35%. That sounds like a big deal, doesn't it? Except it isn't. Because it still means that about 30,000 people have been waiting a year and a half for treatment. A year and a half. Fresh evidence, the government crows, that progress is being made on clearing the backlog of longest waits. Yet you don't get any credit for putting out the fire that you started. And anyway, the number dropping from 45,631 to 29,778 of the people that have been waiting a year and a half to get treated by the NH is not progress. I mean, it could quite possibly mean that many of those people have just been waiting so long they died. I mean, if you were being really unkind, you might think that that is a government policy. Just let them die and then they won't be clogging up the waiting list. Problem solved. But that would never happen under the caring Conservatives, would it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. Fishy told Conservative Home website, we're making real progress. Cutting the waiting list of what is one of my priorities.
It's the country's #1 priority.
It's the #1 priority of the country. It's his #1 priority. It's our #1 priority. God, it's just vomitous. I can't stand it anymore. But I have more. I've got detailed files. Don't you worry about that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
0345 6060 973. This is the guy that used to be our very, very scary Secretary of Defence.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Can you imagine if he had come up against Vladimir Putin? Who do you think you're messing with, Vladimir Putin? We might deploy the Gavin. He'll sort you out. Tom texts, this voter ID policy is a sad and desperate tactic from a failing Tory government who have run out of ideas. The cat's out of the bag now and everyone knows that they are doing it to prevent younger people who usually vote Labour from not voting at all. That is incorrect. Young people don't usually vote Labour. Young people don't usually vote at all. And this is a tactic that's going to work. It doesn't have to prevent all young people from voting. Just enough will do. And young people can't be bothered to go out and trudge down to the polling station at any given moment. Because, it's like, oh, it's just so boring. They're all the same. This morons. We're surrounded by morons. So that's one of the things that will prevent them from going out of the house. And another will be if it is not entirely clement, if it's above or below 70 degrees and it is not slightly overcast but partially sunny, then they'll refuse to go out of the house. Oh, Mum, I can't. Or they're in the middle of, one of those 24-hour game-a-thons. Or they stub their toe, or they're just feeling a bit like bleh today. They're having a personal day, or whatever it might be, is a reason that will prevent them from going and voting. But usually it's, well, they're all the same, What? I don't know what they all stand for. Well, look it up, idiot. And I mean that in a helpful way. I respect the young. Of course I do. But the thing is, it's going to prevent a few, and a few might be enough. In a tight race, if you can just prevent a few people that might not vote Conservative from actually leaving their home, then, or arriving at the polling station and then remembering, oh, forgot, ID. It might just be one or two that get prevented from doing that, and they might be the ones that swing it. So just remember that, kids. What's the important date? The 25th, 5 p.m, as in the afternoon. Just shortly after you get up, remember? 5 p.m. in the afternoon, the 25th of this month. Go and get a voter ID. Just do it. You'll find it on the internet. It's relatively simple. Oh, it involves taking a selfie. You like those? Boston, in Lincolnshire. Wayne.
Good evening, Nick. We promised not to judge me.
No.
I knew you wouldn't, but...
but thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, go on.
There's something I'd like to get off my chest.
Right. Just as long as it's not your shirt. Carry on.
No, it's the cat. Go on, off you go. I had a friend back in the day. He was colourblind.
Yes.
And it was 1999, and he wanted to buy a coloured TV. So I bought a bottle of Lucasade. I took the yellow wrapper off, and I neatly covered the screen and sold him it. And he still thought it was a coloured TV. Right.
And when this joke was formulated in the 1970s, was it funny then?
Well, it wasn't, because the repercussions.
and it hasn't aged very well at all, Wayne. And I am judging you as a listener with material. Oh no! Really bad material as well. But I appreciate it, Wayne. Thanks very much for whatever that was. Gordon texts, could Meghan appear via video link from a poolside in Montecito during the ceremony, do you think? Yeah, they could put her up on the Jumbotron. She should... They put it above the throne or whatever the seat is that Chaz will sit on before they put the sparkly hat on him. She could just be up there at all times, close up of her face. They should definitely do that. Could you be giving that like a running commentary in sign language? Martin emails, I know what you're thinking. My carer's allowance has gone up from £69.70 a week to an inflation-busting £76.75 a week. Now, I know what you're thinking, Nick. It's gone up by £1 a day. Taxi Jeremy Hunt. What? Taxi Jeremy Hunt. He doesn't want me to go out and spend it, so I'm saving it. By Christmas, I'll have saved enough to buy a dinghy and get the hell out of here. I'll see you at the dock. Adrian emails, did you know that you can stop the government alert warning on your phone in your settings? Depending on what phone you have, you can look it up. Yeah, the government is about to give us a warning.
Warning, warning.
Don't vote unless you're voting Tory. I think that's the warning. Otherwise, it will go down on your permanent record. Cruella has got a notebook and she's making a list. Yeah, there's going to be an alert come... now, what's the date of that alert again?
The 25th.
Is it?
I think it's the 25th.
Wow. I spot a conspiracy. The very same day that it is your last opportunity to get a voter ID also just happens to be the day that they're going to freak everyone out by sending them a "you're all about to die" message on their mobile phone. Wow. That is upper-level evil right there. I can't believe it. Hang on a minute. He's wrong.
I am wrong. It's the 23rd. Conspiracy over.
The 23rd. Well, I'm still of a conspiratorial mind on this. It's not after the date at which the end is... right. So by doing it on the 23rd, here is the full conspiracy in motion. By doing it on the 23rd, they're going to cancel all of your appointments on the 23rd because nobody's going to be doing anything other than trying to fiddle with their mobile phone to get it back working again after the government says...
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
And then the following day, they were going to be talking about absolutely nothing but. And by the day after, you'll have completely forgotten the fact that you will have had to register for your voter ID, your picture ID, on, by the 25th. What's St. George's Day?
The 23rd.
Oh, my God.
It's what he would have wanted.
It is what he would have wanted. It's, they're doing Jesus work by trying to prevent as many young people as possible from registering their vote. Yet, fortunately for them, young people can't be bothered to vote anyway. That's why you get nothing, kids. That's why you get screwed over and over and over again. It's because you don't vote. That's why old people continue to get money poured all over them. Relatively speaking. I know that we have one of the worst pensions in the whole wide world. And you might think that after working your entire life and paying that you might be able to retire on something decent to live on, and no, you couldn't be more wrong about that. All the money's gone. Sorry about that. But anyway, the upshot of that is, if you like taking pictures of yourself, kids, then put it to good use. Stick it on one of them cards, and then you'll be able to vote in the next general election, assuming that we are allowed to have a general election. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. It's 10:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
There was more on this email from Adrian. He says, did you know you can stop the government alert warning on your phone in your settings?
Warning, warning.
You can stop the alert warning on your phone in your settings. Depending on what phone you have, you can look it up, he says. I will not. Why would you want to stop an alert? I mean, if there was a major alert, like incoming, why would you want to stop that? Although, what is the point of an alert? I mean, if we get to the point when the government actually has to rouse itself to put out an alert, I think at that moment it will, whatever they're alerting us to will have gone off already. I mean, what are they going to prevent exactly by alerting us? I mean, if Vlad the Insaner decided to let off one of his big rockets, then we're doomed anyway. What difference does it make? What are we going to do? Grab a shovel and dig a shelter? Of course not. Archie says, where have all our MPs gone? The country is ticking along without them quite nicely. That's right. And all the papers this week were haranguing that the head of the junior doctors trade union. Oh my God, he's gone on holiday, they said. He's abandoned his post. What difference does it make whether he goes on holiday or not? The suggestion was, well, if the government calls him up and they're going to negotiate at the very last moment, then they won't be able to do that because he's on holiday. No! Well, yeah, but they're not doing that, are they, the government? They are refusing to pick up the call. So it don't make never mind one way or the other. They're blaming him for the government not calling them. Wow. That is gaslighting pushed up to 11. And Jack says, why are most pictures of the royal family recreational in nature, unless skiing, shooting, horse riding and smiling are classed as arduous toil? Recreational in nature. Are they? Well, mostly they're having a recreational time in nature, yes. That part is true. I mean, most of us have gardens. They've just got nature. Let's have Maidenhead. Hello, Gary. Gary?
Am I on? Is that Nick?
Yes, Gary.
Oh, hello, buddy. Yeah, sorry. We spoke before. On the chap that lives in the car in Maidenhead, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So I know you're not talking about homelessness, but I did ring the council up because I wanted to vote, and I got no crims. I wanted to vote for Labour. But they're telling me I can't vote, even though I've got my driving licence and my passport. But because I'm not at that address anymore, they won't give me the chance to vote. And I said, well, is there no way then that I can actually vote? They said, no, you need a valid address.
Really?
So I said, yeah. So I said to them, well, what about all homeless people then that want to? Well, if they haven't got an address, then they can't vote.
Right.
So that's another load of us that can't vote.
And what did they say then? What about homeless people? You asked, and what did they say? Well,
this person at the council, you can probably guess what council, because, my driving licence is valid for another 3 years, but of course, until something, whatever, until I can actually find somewhere to live, it's my old address, even though it hasn't run out and it's got my picture on it. And I've got other things, but...
You didn't tell them that you were intending to vote something other than Conservative, did you?
Well, funny enough, I did. And I'm just wondering...
Big mistake. Huge.
Whether... because it's treason make. It doesn't look like... But I'm just thinking of all the other people that would want to vote, but they haven't got, a
permanent address. Yeah. Well, the government's position is probably that you should have thought of that before you became homeless.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. And then the other thing is, I wanted to squeeze in quick before you move on, is I would like to try and get back to work, but like I've explained before, I've got bad arthritis, and the X-rays show my left knee is just it looks like a crunchy bar.
Oh, please. Too much information.
But my doctor's told me he's got people waiting 3.5 years, so you're looking at least 5 to 6.
Oh, my God.
And I said, yeah, well, that's going to take me up to about, 66, 67. He says, well, that unless you go private and you're looking at about 15 to 20 grand, I said, well, I could go and ask Universal Credit, but if they only gave me 148 quid a month, I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I don't think so. No. God, what a state this place is in. Does anything work?
Because I said to him, I mean, you know, nobody wants to be in a situation that I'm in, and I would love to get back to work. But so I can't get the knee done, and I can't vote. So that's just brilliant.
Right.
But it was funny because when I said, look, I really want to vote, and I just happened to say that I'm fed up with this government and I want to vote Labour. Their attitude, it seemed to be the attitude. Yeah. But
well, you want to keep your intentions to yourself next time, Gary. And I've got information coming in from next door. Do you want to pass that on?
Yeah, so you can vote. You just need a contact address.
Do you have a contact address? Somebody that you could say that is your contact.
And there are schemes which I'm happy to talk to him about off air of charities that can help him do that. Basically.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you back to my glamorous assistant, Gary, and I wish you all the best. All right.
All right, buddy. Yeah,
all right. So, okay, hang on there. He's on 3. 0345 6060 973. Blimey, are we actually helping people now?
No.
Not really. Not a great deal, no. Peter says, what's happened to the actor Julian Sands? I don't know. He disappeared earlier this year while hiking in America. There were a couple of days' news interest, but nothing since. What's happened to Julian Sands? I don't know. Sam says, maybe next week's good weather is just a bit of nuclear warming. Well, yeah, except that wouldn't show up in the forecast because, that would be a surprise. Surprise! And Steve says, if a postal vote, you don't need photo ID, which is a really a succinct way of putting it. Yeah, he's using as few words as possible. If a postal vote, you don't need photo ID. That's just true. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Norwich. Hello, Donna.
Oh my God, hello.
Donna.
I'm a big hello. Thank you for taking my call. Everything you ever say from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, completely agree. It's the government. I hate them. They're just...
Hang on a minute, Donna.
They're not all the same. They're definitely not all the same.
Hang on. You can't possibly agree with everything I say.
Oh, actually, no. There is one thing.
What?
When you say that... No, there is. I just thought there is one thing. Like when you say that young people, they don't want to vote, I can tell you honestly, my daughter is 21 and she's been voting since she was 18 because I've drummed it into her basically. So
right.
you must use your vote. And honestly, I can tell you a lot of her like friends, her peer groups, whatever, they're very much engaged and they do vote. And I went on a demo in London a few months ago, that massive one. They don't report it on the main news, but there's so many young people. Honestly, there is thousands of really young people.
Yeah, they're exercised by various issues, but they do tend not to bother going out at a general election. And the reasons, chief amongst which are that they are all the same. So what's the point? I can't be bothered.
No, honestly, this particular march was about how bad this current administration is. It was really how bad, like the cuts and the rising in all the bad stuff.
How bad are they? On a scale of 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
yes.
2,000.
2,000 is the right answer.
2,000.
Yes.
Can I just say, like, I don't know whether you heard, like, last week, I think it was last week, it really made me laugh. And I thought, good on you, mate. It was so funny as well. This bloke phoned up and talked to another one of your colleagues on her show. And he said he was actually one of the reasons he was divorcing his wife is because he realised she was a Tory.
Wow. Did they not
actually getting divorced?
Did they not speak before the divorce? Good grief.
I know. He was saying he thought she was more liberal.
Yeah.
And then he realised to his horror that she was a conservative.
Right.
And he was like, that's disgusting, and I can't have that, and I'm getting divorced.
Right. Well, I suppose if they're better apart, then why not?
I think so. And can I honestly just one more thing?
Yes.
What gives me a few crumbs of comfort in these dark times, with some lights that you have, is Marley's ghost in Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
When he's weighed down by all those chains that he forged because he was so money driven and selfish and horrible, and he didn't care. That's how I imagine this current Johnson. All the really bad ones, the bad ones.
The really bad
That's
ones,
how I imagine, and I want to imagine them ending up in
chains.
What's that? Yeah, in chains they're going to be carrying and flying around with them forevermore. What's that word where they're between heaven and hell, they can never rest?
Between heaven and hell, Colchester. It's something like that. Thanks a lot, Donna. 0345 6060 973. Any thoughts about that, Bodge?
I can't comment on that. I
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
0345 6060 973. Paul texts some very important information. He says the 25th of April, it's the 14th of April now, and the 25th is the call-off, the cut-off date by which you need to have asked for a voter ID. Am I putting this well?
No.
25th of April, 5 p.m, that's the cut-off if you want a voter ID card thing. And Paul says I did my maths wrong. He says it's the 14th of April now, the 25th of April is the cut-off date. That's 10 days, not 16 days, as I suggested. Well, maths is not a precise subject, Paul. Maths is more about feelings. And my feeling is that it's 16 days. So no. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hiya, Nick.
Ranjit, have you been frying tonight?
No, we have. It's been terrible.
Terrible
Rain
tonight.
Stop play. Rain stop play.
Right.
And then everybody's spent out during the week, so it was really disappointing.
Well, when it's raining out, you don't want to get fish and chips when it's raining out because you don't want to get water on your chips. Do you?
Yeah, no. But, have you heard that phrase? If you failed the first time, you've got to try again.
Well, I haven't heard it put quite like that, but yes.
Yeah, but that's it. Well, talking about the National Health Service, Jeremy Hunt was in charge of the National Health Service for such a long time in trying to dismantle it, right? And he kind of failed, but he's ruined it, right?
Yes.
Now that he's become Chancellor and he controls the purse strings, he's definitely going to finish off the job. Yeah, this is going to be like what happened in the 80s when Margaret Thatcher and Arthur Scargill had their little row. Yeah, this is going to be Jeremy Hunt versus the National Health Service.
Yeah, well, they haven't. They've been quite bold about it. Really, it's not like they're leaving any room for doubt. Fishy Sunak said today that private health care should be a fundamental part of the NHS, and the rest of them.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory. I don't support the Human Rights Act, and I don't believe in economic and social rights. My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
He's a Tory. Yeah, doesn't believe in economic or social rights because, he's a millionaire. So if you haven't taken the precaution to become a millionaire, then you only have yourself to blame.
Yeah, he's told the truth. He says, I'm a Tory, which is the only true thing he said. So basically, right, like this the thing that's just been railroaded in, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it more about this ID thing, yeah?
Yes.
I mean, it's hard enough to get people to get to the polling station.
That's right,
yeah?
Yes.
And if they forget this thing, they're not going to come back.
No, of course not.
Go home and fetch the ID.
Well,
yeah,
to walk the 300 yards back to the house and then another 300 yards back to the polling station again. You're joking.
And the thing is, I think there's been probably 4 prosecutions throughout the country out of how many million people who are eligible to vote.
It's. I mean, I don't know if we should even bother to address their claims that it's about stopping voter fraud, but there isn't any. There is no voter fraud in this country, just the same as there isn't in America, which is where they got this idea from the Republican Party.
Yeah, your electoral roll. Yeah, you can't go and vote twice because they cross your name off there when you vote. Anyway, that's the first, fundamental point. So if I go there and say I'm Nick Abbott, they're going to say, that's fine, okay. I tick your name off, I tick your name off, And then if you suddenly arrive and says I'm Nick Abbott,
they say, oh no, you're not.
Oh no, you're not. And there's a problem because they get ticked off. And this thing that they say that voting is supposed to be anonymous. It isn't because they can trace because all of those tickets, the ballot papers
got
are all
a number on the back.
So it can be if somebody really wants to trace who did you actually vote for, they can do it. That's one.
It's all going on your permanent record, Ranjit.
It is, And if I may just talk about Suella Braverman, right now, you know how not all Londoners, think that people north of the Watford Gap are probably, just slaves and waste of time and just don't, plebs, that's what we get called, They just say, oh,
cave dwellers, I think, is the
phrase.
phrase.
Cave dwellers, right? And, and I'm, I've been Indian origin, right? And I'm not going to be racist, but what I'm going to tell you... No, wobbly, but, But what happened, the British, when they were ruling India, Nick, they needed skilled labour to come to Africa, right? So they went round the villages and everybody, found all the educated guys and took them to Africa. They started building the railroads and obviously they worked quite hard and they got themselves into high position jobs until Idi Amin decided saying, listen, you guys have, enslaved my population.
Wow, this is like a history lesson.
No, Nick, this is why she's got that attitude, right? So she looks down at everybody, even her own cousins, right? She probably looks down at them.
I think Suella Braverman's position in the government is to mention things that would sound a bit off if someone with a white face said them. I think that's her role, as was Pretty's before her.
She's a mouthpiece for the right wing, right? And there's no way Rishi Sunak is going to pick a fight with the right wing part of the Conservatives.
But what makes you think that he would do something like that? What makes you think that he isn't part of that right wing? Seems pretty right wing to me.
Yeah, he probably is, but he's trying to get the centre vote as well, Nick. Right? So he's trying to.
You mean the centre People's vote or the centre Tory vote? Because I don't think that the centre Tory vote is there anymore. Neither is the central Tory party. They seem to have had a reverse takeover by UKIP would be one suggestion, or even further right than that.
Yeah, that's it. They were all scared of that nutcase Farage, weren't they, before, right? And Farage,
let's not get carried away. There's no suggestion that Nigel Farage is a nutcase.
I'm a nutcase.
And do you remember on one of your programmes, right, somebody says, he's talking to Nigel Farage, he says, you know what, mate, you know what, I love you. And suddenly his sense come to me, he says, what happened? He says, a horse hit me.
Oh, that. Well, unfortunately, I don't have that tape to hand.
I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay,
Nick,
fine.
Nick,
thank you.
Nick,
all right.
I've spoken to Nigel Farage on this station. Okay, and I know somebody he's a Tory, well and truly. He's a Brexiteer, and now he's admitted to me. He says, this Brexit, it was wrong.
Right. So he used to be in the party.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
And he's not no more. All right. OK, good news. Thanks a lot, Ranjit. 0345 6060 973. Rona says, you sound like you've mostly recovered from your cold. Mostly. Did you hear the one of Smug's Brood actually wrote into his TV radio show so that he would have a comment to read out? No, I didn't hear that. Did you hear that one of Smug's Brood actually wrote in to his TV/radio show so that he would have a comment to read out? We are definitely living in the film Idiocracy. I didn't know that. The stuff you miss when you check out for a couple of days a week. You, Rona, are better informed than I am.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
But he doesn't know anything. Buster says, Google an image of Roland Rat. Who does that remind you of? Google an image of Roland Rat. Well, I bet my glamorous assistant has done that already. And will be presenting me with an image momentarily, if not sooner. Lucy says, whenever I see Sunak with world leaders, he seems to represent the silly, shrunken, post-Brexit Britain that we have become. The tiddlers of Europe. Oh, there's a picture. That's a bit on the nose, isn't it? So to speak. Wow. It couldn't be anybody else.
It couldn't.
It couldn't. Oh, my God. I mean, apart from that loud jacket that Roland Rat is wearing, and he appears to be wearing a horse rider's hat, unless that's just an ordinary cap. It just looks weird on his head. But good grief. Wow. What's he holding in his hand?
I'm gripping it.
He's gripping it. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Shut up. I can't. Lucy says, whenever I see Sunak with world leaders, he seems to represent the silly, shrunken, post-Brexit Britain that we have become. The tiddlers of Europe, says Lucy. Yeah, I have detailed file... Oh, hang on. I have detailed files about that. My coffee was backing up on me. I drank it too quick. I've reached the ripe old age that I am at, and I don't know how to drink yet. Let's have Chingford. Hello, John.
Oh, hello. Is it John from Chingford?
I don't know. Is it?
Oh, yeah. No, you normally say John from Chingford anyway.
Yes.
It's nice to speak. Are you over your cold, by the way?
No, it doesn't seem so. I sound nasally.
Yeah. Oh, well, it seems to be one that's going on. Well, I hope you recover soon.
Everyone has got it. Everyone has got something. Have you noticed?
Yeah, I never get... I haven't had a cold for centuries because I just take garlic tablets.
That don't work.
I know you had that thing with lovely Jan from Tooting, but ever since I've been taking garlic tablets, I've never had a sniffle, really.
Right, and how long have you been taking garlic tablets?
Well, I mean, early...
Couple of weeks?
Well, no, about 20 years.
20 years? You've never had a cold in 20 years?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, it's odd. I used to get loads of them before. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah. Actually, I've got a minor gripe. Shall I do the gripe before or after my main point?
Is the fact that you take garlic tablets, does that just mean that people stay away from you? That's probably it, isn't it? You can't catch anything from someone if they maintain epic distance from you at all times.
They don't make your breath smell. I mean, you swallow them, and that's just a fallacy, you know.
Right.
I mean, garlic tablets and vitamin C, you'll never get a cold.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that that's true. But anyway, go on.
But I've got a minor gripe. Should I do that after my main point, or?
Well, is that perhaps because you've been taking too many garlic tablets? A minor gripe. I'm sure that to chew some Rennie and it might go away.
Yeah. Shall I go into my main point then and leave the gripe till after?
We'll leave the gripe till last. Leave the best bit till last. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just, it looks like Labour are actually sliding in the polls somewhat, and this new reform, Nigel Farage, Richard Tyson party, and Anne Widdecombe's joint, they're actually rising. I mean, we could actually, when you think things couldn't get scary in the Westminster House of Wax, we could end up with a coalition of the Tories and the Reform Party, because Labour just don't. As you say, there's so many open goals that Starmer doesn't seem to be interested in.
Yeah,
it worries me. I mean, things are bad now, but I mean, if you got those two together, the Reform and the Tories, God knows what we're going to end up with.
Well, it's more likely that Labour will come out with a leading number of MPs, that they will in effect win, but not have enough, perhaps, to lead on their own. So they would want a coalition themselves, and there are more options, I would suggest, for the Labour Party under Keir Starmer to team up with the Greens, the Groovy Greenies, and the Lib Dems as well. So I think that is more likely than a Tory UKIP or whatever they are now.
Yeah. No, well, you cheered me up a bit now. Perhaps I'll leave the gripe till next time.
Oh, well, don't tease us with a gripe.
No, it's just that, I mean, it did upset me a bit when you had the cold. You talked about the film King Kong. You just saw the Peter Jackson King Kong. And you said the 1933 version was rubbish.
Rubbish,
I mean, no, it's an all-time classic. I mean,
when it was in black and white, and the black and white, and the special defects were rubbish because it's just so old. It was so old.
Look, I'll end on one final point. But don't forget, there'd be no Ray Harryhausen without the original King Kong. And also, I mean, Jackson's film was not a remake, it was a homage. And I was very glad he actually set it in 1933 as well, like the original. But anyway, no account of the
homage. What's the difference between an homage and a remake?
I don't know.
Well, there isn't one. But why did you differentiate between the two?
Well, it's just that, I mean, Peter Jackson is a huge admirer of the 1933 original, which you despise.
Yeah, no doubt. Which I didn't despise it. That's a bit strong. I just said it was rubbish.
You said it was rubbish.
Yeah, but that's not despising. Despise, it's taking it to another level.
You always win, kid. I tell you, I can't win with you, but it's been fun.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Cheers, mate. Fun, he says. I'll put a stop to that. Andy says, I think the Tories have made a huge mistake by making us have to show a photo ID to vote. I think that Brexit voters would be against the idea of having a photo ID. They won't need a passport to go abroad where all those foreigners live. Leanne says, I've been waiting for an MRI since October 2019 due to spinal issues. What? Pandemic blamed last phone contact regarding the scan. It says scam. I assume you mean scan, was August 2021. Nothing since. Tuesday, I was sent to A&E as I could barely walk, had the MRI, and the following evening, then a call from the consultant's secretary giving me a date for said MRI. So you had the MRI, and then the next day they called you to say that you got a date for your MRI. It's like it's being run by Muppets, says Leanne. Blimey. Do you have any idea how long it takes for a person in need to get an MRI in, let's say, France, for instance? It's about as long as this. Your machine awaits. The NHS used to have record low waiting lists and record high public appreciation 13 years ago. Can you remember what happened 13 years ago?
Yeah. Wait.
No, me neither. It's like it's a mystery. Anyway, Fishy Sunak was yakking on about this to Conservative Home. He said, "We're making real progress. Cutting the waiting list is one of my number one priorities."
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities. The people's priorities. It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
My absolute number one priority. My number one priority is to protect this government.
Well, what I want to reassure people is that this will be my number one priority.
People should be absolutely reassured that this is a top priority for me. I'm gripping it.
He's gripping it. He said there's lots of different ways we are doing that. Not gripping it, but, making real progress with the NHS. Lots of different ways we're doing that, but it's about doing things differently. It's about reform. It's about using the private sector more.
Warning!
There it is, right there. Using the private sector more. He says that's something that we actually should be very comfortable with. Well, I'm sure he is very comfortable with private medical. Do you think for a single solitary second that he has ever seen the NHS, apart from on one of those photo opportunities? He said, ultimately, if a patient is still getting the care they need, free at the point of use, we shouldn't be so hung up on who is providing it. We should be using the independent sector to provide choice, to provide competition, to drive up quality. Yeah, but the private sector can only drive up quality if the service they are replacing is of low quality. Ain't that right? And the point about getting the private sector to do these operations that they would pick and choose is that money then gets diverted from the NHS away from the kind of operations that are difficult and that the private sector wouldn't choose to do. I mean, they're all over hips and knees because that's a piece of cake. But something more complicated than that might need a little bit more, trouble and time, then they don't want to do that. So they won't bid to do those kind of operations. So that will be left to the NHS, which will have less money because they've been spending it on private practice. It all seems so bloomin' obvious to me, and apparently nobody else. And why might the NHS be low on quality is something that we should ask of the people who have been in power for 13 years. I mean, if going private means that the private sector can drive up quality, then who's been in power for the last 13 years driving the NHS down? There used to be a record low waiting list and record high levels of appreciation to where we are now, the highest waiting lists and the lowest appreciation. It's almost as though the decisions that government make affect lives. God, wouldn't that be awful if that was true? Other things said by the dear leader to the friendly inquisitor from Conservative Home website included that he was a low-tax Conservative. Which is funny, considering that in order to plug the hole that was caused by the Tories' Brexit lies and the Tories' corruption and the gifting of billions of pounds of public money to friends of the regime, we poor dopes who pay taxes have never paid so much and got so little. Where's the money gone? Any idea? But don't despair. Fishy said tax cuts would have to wait until the economy and public finances are on a more stable footing. Or in other words, till just before the next general election, regardless of how the economy is doing. Betcha, betcha, betcha. He said we've got to get inflation down first, get borrowing under control, and then we've got the sound fundamentals to cut taxes. Well, inflation is going to come down irrespective of what this government does, but that won't stop them taking credit for it. And borrowing would be under control if they hadn't just given about, 50, 60 billion pounds away to their mates. And if any of the promises of Brexit had turned out to be true, we'd have that money. Mr. Sunak has said the UK was a foreign policy superpower. Here's that thing about the tweet that I just read about Sunak standing on the world stage looking like a tiddlywink. Fishy Sunak said the UK was a foreign policy superpower. This is following French President Emmanuel Macron's comments about Europe's response to China and the US. Macron used an interview with Politico to say that the European Union should become a third superpower to avoid getting dragged into a clash between China and the US over Taiwan. And in response, Fishy Sunak said, "So are we." He highlighted the AUKUS submarine deal with the US and Australia, the Windsor Framework Agreement with the EU, the Anglo-French Summit and the accession to the CPTPP Pacific Trade Area as examples of the UK's global status. "We don't need to be part of the EU to be a foreign superpower. We are a foreign superpower," he said. How sad is that? A little man in a land of giants squeaking about being powerful. I mean, look, we did a deal with Australia to supply bits of a boat that won't amount to a hill of beans. The Windsor Agreement was just a sticking plaster over a bit of the catastrophe of their Brexit. The Anglo-French Summit was just two countries' leaders meeting. Big deal. And he's getting excited by that. They're still talking to us. And as for the TPP deal, I mean, that's not even worth talking about, let alone shouting about. And that's how we are now. A little country yelling about how we used to be something. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
0345 6060 973. Susie texts, "I heard on the news today that there is a shortage of water. We should all be extra careful when using it." Immediately following this statement, the weather forecast was rain for the next week. Yeah, water everywhere, and not a drop to squirt on your roses. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, three little bits. The postal voting thing. People ought to remember that the last date for applications for the postal vote is the 18th. Not the 25th like the ID application.
Oh, the postal vote. That's right. Yes, a postal vote is a good thing because you don't have to leave the house. Well, you do to post it. So there's that.
Yeah. But
it also might get lost in the post. It might arrive late. Did you think about that?
It is, but the thing is, it's the last day, it's the 18th. But just think about postal voting. You can go to your council office and fill a form in, and then go back home and you wait for your postal vote, and then you can take your postal vote. You don't need any ID to fill the form in. You get your postal vote and you can take that to your polling station if you want and hand it in.
Can you?
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so the date by which you must have applied online to the government for your voter ID card is the 25th. And the last date for the polling for the postal vote is when?
The 18th.
18th, which is 15 days away?
Tuesday or something.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, this Tuesday coming up, or thereabouts, the 15th. Yes, correct.
So if you want one, do it quick. But
do it today.
Talking about privatising the health system, think back. To when Sunak got his fixed penalty notice for attending Johnson's birthday party.
Yeah.
Johnson immediately said, "I'll pay it, bum, bum, bum." It was about 8 or 10 hours before Sunak said he agreed to pay it. And the reason for that was that he was in California in a meeting with American healthcare providers.
Right.
So just join the dots. Because now he's talking about competition with private providers for the NHS.
Right. Well, you don't really need to join the dots. You don't need to think about it for more than 10 seconds. If they seem unwilling to even sit down to negotiate with medics, then it seems more likely than not that they're not really that interested in the success of the organisation that they're working for. Very difficult to negotiate with somebody who's not interested in the success of the organisation you're a member of.
Absolutely correct. And the other thing is that they're saying, we're not going to negotiate with the doctors because they're asking for 35%. Well, it would be equally valid for the doctors to say, well, you're saying 5%, and that's utterly ridiculous. When you've come off your 5% and abandoned that, we'll come and talk to you.
Yeah.
Would be equally as reasonable, but the government are presenting it back to front. on that one.
But again, I come back to if you're actively trying to dismantle a system, then you're not going to be that bothered about negotiating with people who are trying to save it, are you? I think that informs where we are right now.
Yeah, I agree. And then just last little rant, if I can, on the bigger picture. We're the sixth biggest economy in the world. The court's failing. The police service is failing. Border Force is failing. The prisons are failing. Education's in trouble. NHS is in trouble.
Yeah,
where's the money going, Nick?
But apart from that, how's things going?
Well, where's the money going? If we're the sixth biggest economy, why can't... And the armed forces, and you've mentioned that, they've been defunded.
Yeah.
Where is the money going if it's not going into our public services?
Well, let's hope that somebody's looking into it. But I seriously doubt that they are. Yeah, it's a secret. They can't tell us right now, but we should trust them. All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. You do trust them, no?
No.
Mark says, you berate young people for not voting, but my octogenarian parents haven't voted in the last 4 general elections. Lazy, shiftless old people. A blight on this nation, says Mark. His octogenarian parents haven't voted in the last 4 general elections. Well, good. Keep it up. Chris says, it sounds like the tree pollen is still doing its stuff. Don't forget, London Plain is the Black Sabbath of the tree world. Rock with no roll from a pollen perspective. I have no idea what that means. Do you know what that means, Ozzy?
No.
Even Ozzy Osbourne doesn't know what you mean. And Rebecca says, threats to change the internet password and a padlock on the fridge works if he's not feeling enthusiastic about making the 5-minute journey to the polling station. Oh, I see. Right. So, if your recalcitrant offspring can't be bothered to go down to the polling station come the big day, Rebecca says that threats to change the internet password and a padlock on the fridge will work if he's not feeling enthusiastic about making a 5-minute journey to the polling station. And you could hear the protests from here. Let's have, let me see now. Erith, Steve.
Hello, Nick.
Steve.
I see in the paper today the robot dog in New York. I don't know if you've seen it.
The robot dog?
Yeah.
No.
Apparently it's a robot, they call it the DigiDog. And apparently they released it in 2020. You know, it's aid police, but instead of a normal canine, it's a robot dog.
A robot dog?
I'm looking at a picture of it now, and it looks very scary. It's, oh, yeah. And also...
Are you sure you're not looking at a picture of a character in Doctor Who?
It looks like something like that.
Right.
I could tell you where the picture is, what paper it is, or I'm not allowed to say it.
Yeah, say it. I dare you.
Page 12 of today's Metro.
Page 12 of today's Metro. My glamorous assistant is on the case. Going to find it out
when
straight away.
When you see the picture, you'll understand.
A robot dog, you say?
Yeah.
Right. Does it also do the hoovering?
Yeah, it mentions Hoover.
Right.
Also, can I just say about that? They found a rock on Mars that resembles... It's probably not, but it resembles a fish fossil.
A rock?
Yeah.
They found a rock...
made by water.
Yeah, they found a rock on Mars. Wow,
yeah, but
that certainly was worth all that money.
It resembles a fish fossil.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Can't wait to see a picture of it. Excellent work there, Steve. Keep on keeping on. Promise me you'll do that. So what's this then?
So the one at the top's the robot dog, police dog.
Yeah.
The one below it is the fish fossil.
The fish. Wow, that looks just like a fish. It's got an eye and everything. They found a fish on Mars. And the robot dog, that's an alarming thing. Does it have a laser? Does it shoot lasers?
It looks like it to me. It looks terrifying.
It does look terrifying. But what about the guy in the background? He looks even more terrifying. He looks like the Terminator.
There's another one here that's more terrifying because they've put a human face on it.
No, I don't want to see that.
Well, you can now.
Where is it? Oh, my God. Yeah, that is the future of policing. I'm absolutely certain of it. Robots that will make an instant decision on whether you get to walk away or not. Yeah, you see videos of those robot things, and the scientists will do a video of them dancing, and you think, hey, that looks cute, and of course it's cute until it decides to exterminate everybody.
Affirmative.
Sarah says, I'm a big fan, huge, but when you are negative about Keir Starmer, as you often are, you do feel the narrative. I hate that word. You do feed the narrative that you just mocked when you were talking about people not voting. Insert sarcastic voice here. They're all the same. Please lay off him between now and the elections, says Sarah, as though I'm going to have an effect one way or the other. But, yeah, I suppose so. Between now and the elections. Well, that might be forever. It might be a year away or more. I can't wait that long. Keir Starmer needs to be corrected. He needs to be, advised better or something, because I don't think that those attack ads are going to work, because they are the sort of thing that appeals to those that have gone to the dark side. And I don't mean with the Vader. They've already gone to the dark side. You're not going to get them back by trying to out-evil the reason that they went there in the first place. So those negative attack ads, they might go down well in America, where that is, that seems to be all that they get over there. But that's not really who we are. And it's not who you are trying to get back. The knuckle-dragging mouth breathers, they've gone. Forget about them. Don't try and bring them back. It won't work. They've made their decision. They know what they voted for. The fact that they didn't get it is neither here nor there. Anyway, apart from that, Keir Starmer, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. But, there is that problem with your hair, though.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. That's a fact. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Oh, blimey, look at the time. It's 11:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
What in blazes goes on inside that head of yours?
Well, I've just been looking at that robot dog. Apparently, that bloke was right. And there was me thinking that he was just out of his mind. Robotic dogs have joined the New York Police Department. New York City officials have unveiled 3 new high-tech policing devices, including, but not limited to, a robot dog, which looks like the future, and the future is really, really alarming. It's like a dog. It's got 4 legs, but someone has chopped its head off, and it's still walking. Very, very alarming. And the other 2 things, they look like hoovers that have been stood up. Not hoovers, vacuum cleaners that have been stood up, but they don't have their tube. And they don't look alarming at all. In fact, I've never seen anything that looks quite so benign and unthreatening. And you would think that as a perp, if one, sashayed its way into the room, you would think it would be benign and unthreatening, right up to the point that it executes absolutely everybody in the room. And then they apologise for it later. Yeah, sorry about that. A little snafu. Stamford, Connecticut. Hello, Martin.
Hi there. I'm beginning to wonder if there's more knuckle-dragging mouth breathers in the UK than there are in the US.
Well,
who do the British people think is going to pay for the continued privatisation of the NHS? Do they think the government's going to do it?
Pay for the privatisation of it?
Yes, pay for what do you think that once it's been privatised, the government will continue to pay the costs associated with that privatisation? Because I live here in New York and I pay over $16,000 a year just for single coverage health insurance.
$16,000?
Over $16,000 a year just for straight health insurance coverage. And back in 2020, I was in hospital for 2 nights I paid over $65,000 for 2 nights in a hospital.
Good grief.
Yes. So if the British people want that, they surely are on the way to getting it. And Rishi Sunak will make sure that you do, unless he's turfed out.
Okay. Thanks for the warning, Martin. I appreciate it.
People should listen up.
Well, yeah, listen up, everybody. You know, there are other systems than America. America's system is winner takes all. And unfortunately, that seems to be where we are going as well, this winner takes all system. Of course, a winner takes all system is only put into place by those people who have already won. That's the important part to remember. If you have not won already, then you are unlikely to win in the future under such a system. They're just cementing in their own wealth and advantage by that system. And coincidentally, the people that fund politics in America, which cements in that system, are also heavily involved in funding politics in this country. It's odd that we appear to be going the same way as the Republicans, almost as though it's the same people. Weird. Chris says, you're right about the Tories wanting to stop the young from voting. If they seriously wanted to reform our electoral... He says, if they seriously wanted to reform our electoral system, they would bring in PR. P.S. I'm also fed up that the people in Fareham who reselected Suella Braverman. Just why, says Chris. Yeah, why? Let's have Stockton-on-Tees. AJ.
Oh, hello, Nick. Thanks for taking my call. I would hope you get well soon.
Thanks.
It's about why young people's supposed voting apathy.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when they voted in droves and then got totally turned over by the Liberal Party just for a sniff of power, which they never got anywhere as soon as they got the seats in Parliament.
You're talking about the
2010.
Yeah, the educational fund U-turn. I can't think what it's called.
What was it? The tuition fund fees.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't think all people are dumb and gullible. Like, I think what politicians see them as that. If they're apathetic, Nick, I reckon they're probably seeing stuff like big business, money, donors, you know, obvious people.
No doubt, yes. But there is a choice to be made. They are not all the same, the political parties. Now, they might not have communicated that to you, but that doesn't mean to say it ain't true. You have to pick one based on who you think is going to do right by you. And your recent experience may inform that choice.
I think a lot of people see not what young people has been the problem, but Westminster is the problem.
Yeah, I'm not saying that young people are the problem. Well, they don't help by sitting at home and not bothering to take part, because if they did, then the direction of the country would not be decided by those who have a precious small a relatively small amount of time to live in it.
I think you're right about this America thing, you know, Nick. I see it going that way as well, and I hear it, mate. But what I don't think helps is our media seems to have an OCD on the minutiae of American affairs. I saw a clip about an American trailer in a trailer park that was falling into a river because of a road and river edge. Almost hurt. No one killed anything. I was wondering, why should that be of interest to you when there's people being killed in Chile? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you can report both. I mean, it was probably one of those and finally stories. I mean, we have and finally stories of a similar nature in this country. And I've seen a lot of them. You know, coastal erosion, people's houses falling into the sea, and the council coming along and knocking them down before they do that. So I've seen both, AJ.
Nick, I used the word OCD on purpose because it is like that. It's constant. I once saw a week's coverage of what the American president was doing in some African country. Yeah, all channels just for that. And than maybe a little clip on the latest person to be shot dead, latest black-skinned person to be shot dead in America, you know.
Right, well, I'm sure if that's the news that you require, AJ, then I'm sure you can find it. It's available somewhere, probably on the internet. Ask the internet knows. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Just wants to see, more coverage of people getting shot, that's all. What's wrong about that? Frank says, I'd love to be able to get to the coronation armed with 6 dozen eggs. Well, that's not... please don't do that. Angry texts. Sorry I have to disagree with you, but the Conservatives should be congratulated on the creation of a... Now, you changed this, didn't you?
I noticed it. I didn't know if it was purposeful.
Well,
or
I
not.
think it was.
Okay, I'll change it back.
All right. Now, he's changed it to healthcare system, but it started out as wealth care system, which makes more sense. From the top, sorry I have to disagree with you, but the Conservatives should be congratulated on the creation of a wealth care system, second only to the USA. Sunak should be proud of upholding a tradition as sacrosanct as this. A wealth care system. That's what we got. Windsor. Elizabeth.
Hi, yes.
Elizabeth.
Okay, now, just listening to the drivel. Okay, so Mad, I just want to tell you who started this off. Now, the person I spoke to earlier said some of this PFI started under John Major, but you know who took it into the next level was Tony Blair. Now, please don't put me down and say no, because if you look at the first chief executive, NHS England didn't exist before Blair came into devolution and split the NHS up. Okay, then the first CEO, chief exec of NHS England was Nigel Crisp. He has written a book, 24 Hours to Save the NHS, in which he says this was the biggest reorganisation. Okay, I have in front of me here, we're members of the BMA, my husband's a consultant, blah, blah. So
I've been unable to really pay attention to what it is you're saying. I'm still concentrating. I'm still concentrating on the part where you said at the beginning. I've been listening to the drivel.
No, I'm talking about the guy from America, so-called. The trouble, and I'll explain to you why. Because but what I've got in front of me here is the BMA news for May 26, 2001. Bogle, who was the head of. I'm going to tell you why. Consultant doctor bashing in the press and by the government has not undermined public confidence, because as soon as Blair came in, if you go and look up his 99 speech, he said, I'm going to destroy the works of the Conservatives, starting with the doctors. And we then just got hammered. And you have no idea. And they also rearranged, they insist on bringing in a new contract. So I will read you some of this.
Oh, no, that's okay, Elizabeth. When Tony Blair and Gordon Brown left power and the Conservatives took over, the waiting times were at an all-time low, and the public's appreciation of the NHS was at an all-time high.
Yeah, but you know what gaming is. I'll tell you what happens, and even Nigel Crisp admits that we all know this. Okay,
what's gaining?
Gaming, G-A-M-I-N-G. I'll tell you what
G-A-M-I-N-G. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
So you go along and you need to go and have a specialist appointment. So they make the appointment, you could get the appointment, then you get to the day before and they say, I'm very sorry, it's just a disaster, we'll have to cancel and rebook you.
Yeah.
That's okay. But
that's gaming.
I'll tell you why, because that first appointment ticks the target. And then your appointment gets cancelled. So
right.
Our secretary, for instance, and this is
that may happen, but you're suggesting
it happened.
You're suggesting
all the time. We work in the NHS. My husband was the only consultant for East Berkshire, the only one for 400,000 patients as a cardiologist from 81 until 2002. And we were, my husband, because there was no equipment or anything here, fundraised. Set up a trust, fundraised £1 million. So Labour came in, and they said
so
no. But
Elizabeth, your point is.
My point is, this is not something that started. I mean, the other thing you forgot to mention.
No. Your point is.
No. My point is that this narrative that's going on about this is only the Conservatives' fault. They've been here for 13 years. Liam Byrne left a note in 2010.
The comedy note, as though that makes the slightest bit of difference over the last 13 years in any way, shape,
No, it's not.
and form.
No,
we owe something like 4 times as much now as we did then. So to keep harping back on that is just comical. And I restate my case. When Tony Blair and Gordon Brown left office, the NHS had record low waiting lists and record high public appreciation.
It was just gaming. I didn't say it was gaming.
OK, if it was just the waiting lists figures, which I admit all statistics can be fudged, but what about the public appreciation part? If people's appointments were being constantly put back by consultants using gaming, as you suggest, then the public would not be satisfied with the NHS, would they? So why were they?
I'll explain, because it's not the consultants, it's the management.
All right, it doesn't make any difference. All right, the management, whatever. If their appointments are being constantly put back, then the public would not be happy with that service. So why were they so happy?
I would like to know. I don't know why, because I don't know if they were, because they certainly weren't here.
They were. I'm telling you that they were. It's a fact, Elizabeth. I'm surprised you, with all the other facts at your fingertips, that you don't have that very important one. But I'm past a break. And so I've got to go. Wow. And I don't know, maybe decaffeinated coffee? Try some of that. See how it goes. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC. There'll be a short pause.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. So I've just been looking up public satisfaction with the NHS. Are the public satisfied?
No.
Public satisfaction with the NHS is running at 36%. The National Centre for Social Research finds that public satisfaction with how the NHS is run has fallen to 36%. Now, this was in 2021, the end of. So shall we go ahead and assume that it's even worse than that now? I can... public satisfaction with the NHS in 2022. One moment, please. Looking for a number. Too many words. Overall satisfaction, 29%. Wow. So it's 36% in 2021. Now it was 29% last year. So shall we assume that the same vertiginous fall has happened over the past year? But let's be totally kind and say that 29% of the good people of this country are completely satisfied in every way, shape and form with their NHS. 29%. You know what it was when Tony Blair and Gordon Brown left power? 70. 29% now, 70% in 2010. 70. In fact, the same number now that are satisfied with the NHS were in fact, less. A half of the... a third. 2/3. How many? 2/3 of the... people that were, never mind, I can't do that maths. But 20% in 2010 were unsatisfied, 70% were very satisfied. 70%. I mean, we can only dream of those numbers now. So, whatever that last nice lady was saying, I bat it back and double it. With cream on top. Sue says, I have been to Harefield Hospital today for some tests. Excellent service, well done, NHS. Carl says, warning, the 23rd is the same date that lockdown started. Coincidence or something more sinister? Is it? Blimey, that seems like another lifetime ago, don't it? Barnet. Hello, Lawrence.
Good evening. Just had to think about that, actually.
Yes, sir.
Haven't done Rees-Mogg recently. I've rung to complain, sir.
You haven't? I haven't done him. Well, he hasn't done anything lately.
Do you know those Harry Potter books recorded by Stephen Fry?
No.
Okay, so they're the most sort of the best-known editions. Okay, so there's this character.
Is that true? the read by Stephen Fry is the most... I don't think so. Aren't the books more popular?
Well,
I mean, kids like to read. They don't like to wait for an adult to read it to them.
Yeah, but they were broadcast on Radio 4 about 20 years ago. Anyway, the character, Draco Malfoy, his sort of, the voice for that character is exactly similar to Rick Smog.
Right.
I'm not going to do it now, obviously. So.
No, okay, that's great. All right, thanks, Lawrence. It's just some information. Just some information first. A full 1,000 million hours have been spent by fans listening to Harry Potter books on Audible. Is that true?
That is true.
Right. What, are people not able to scan their eyes across a text anymore?
Apparently not.
They just can't be bothered to move their eyeballs from left to right. That's too much effort for them. For crying out loud. That's pathetic. Just read it. I mean, it's for children. I thought that children, they read at a certain speed. They don't want to wait for an adult to enunciate it for them. Particularly someone as ancient as Stephen Fry, no offence. Kids don't want that. Because apart from anything else, if somebody reads a book to you, then it takes away some of your imagination. Because you would imagine what those people sound like. And if Stephen Fry, whoever it might be, is reading it for you, then they will put their particular voice to, that they think that character is like. But that's not it. That's not right. Just read the blooming thing if you're going to read. Personally, I'd wait for the film to come out because it, takes less time. And it's better. And it takes less time. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Hungerford. Doris.
Hello.
Doris.
It's such a lonely week to wait for you to come back.
Oh.
I recall when Sissy went to California in, I think it was 2020, just at the beginning of the pandemic. And the interviewer sort of hinted that he was escaping to his luxury pad.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, no. He had various meetings with private insurance companies.
Yeah.
And,
that'll be right.
It still sits in the back of my neck. And only this week he again reiterated that we should have more private involvement.
Yes.
And another thing, today I had a letter from the NHS. Now, listen carefully. saying information, open this important information. Anyway, I opened the letter, and it was written to me in German.
What?
Inviting me for the booster.
A what?
The booster injection.
Oh, the booster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have the repeat and claiming that I had medical conditions and I should go.
Why did they say that in German?
I don't know.
Are you German?
Well, I am German born. Yeah, I've lived here 57 years.
Right. So I wonder if that was actually them being very, very efficient, or they just had an accident, but it coincided
with... the fourth letter. The other three letters, reminders I had, were in English.
Right. So they tried writing you 3 times and didn't get a response. So they thought, wow, we'll just try German. Why not?
But that is where they're making their money. That company is a private franchise.
Which company?
Who sends out these letters.
Oh.
And they probably get paid per letter.
So that's the scam. I had no idea. Right, they're sending out letters in multiple languages, just like peppering the good people of this country with all sorts of missives in languages that they don't speak, in order to reel in all of that postage cash.
I know. Honestly, I really thought now I've really seen it all.
Yeah, now you've seen it and done everything. So you're going to get that booster? No. Yes?
Well, I have asked my surgery where the local walk-ins Sundays. They didn't know. Nobody knows, so I'm not having it. I am not going on the computer and making appointments.
Yeah.
Anyway, lovely to hear you at
All
the
right.
weekend.
Thanks a lot, Doris. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Jim says, how come the French can't accept change without setting themselves on fire? That's a good question. And Alan says, more of the seductive, sultry sidekick, please. The sidekick?
What?
No. It's a no from me. And furthermore...
No.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello, boys.
He is a very sick and dangerous man.
Yes, I'm a very sick person, but you know me, I don't like to mention it.
Stop whining.
0345 6060 973. Daniel says, I wondered if you can tell me what the attraction of Rory Stewart is supposed to be. He now fancies himself as London mayor, and a lot of relatively sane people seem to love him, but his disgusting voting record speaks louder than a few warm words now. He might not be as evil as Cruella, but that doesn't make him the acceptable face of Toryism. I think I need a lie down, says Daniel. So I just looked him up on the They Work For You website. How Rory Stewart voted on environmental issues. Generally voted against measures to prevent climate change. Voted for selling England's state-owned forests. Generally voted against greater regulation of hydraulic fracking. Consistently voted against restrictions on fees charged to tenants by letting agents. Why would you do that? Why would you want estate agents or letting agents to charge tenants higher fees? What's the point of that? Unless you are a person who is letting out property or knows people like that. Generally voted for the privatisation of Royal Mail. Generally voted for restricting the scope of legal aid. Blimey. Voted against greater regulation of gambling. What about health? Generally voted against restricting the provision of services to private patients by the NHS. Voted against smoking bans. Taxation and employment. Let's have a look. Voted against the for raising the threshold at which people pay income tax, which of course punishes the poor the most. Voted a mixture for voted for increasing the rate of VAT. Voted against an annual tax on the value of expensive homes. Yeah, I wonder why that is. Voted against increasing the tax rate applied on income over £150,000 a year. Gosh, that's a surprise. Yeah, I see what you mean. He has a voting record just like every single other Conservative member of Parliament.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
I mean, you really couldn't to put a tissue paper between any of them. They're all the bloomin' same. By their voting record, they're all exactly the same. So you got me. I don't know. I think the people used to like him because he wasn't Boris Johnson.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But, you know, that only goes so far. What is this story from my, what are they calling you now? My sultry sidekick.
Seductive sidekick. Had a promotion.
Yeah. Rory Stewart opposes rent controls after pocketing £20,000 in rental income. This was couple of years ago. Exclusive. The ex-Tory MP standing for London Mayor as an independent insisted that rent controls wouldn't solve the problem of soaring rents. Yes, they would. Of course they would. A rent control would solve the problem of soaring rents. That's the definition of rent control. Rory Stewart has been slammed for opposing rent controls in London despite earning tens of thousands of pounds in rental income.
What?
Yeah. The former Tory MP, blah, blah, blah. In tax returns he published early this month, Stewart admitted he had earned $21,659 in rental income. Right. Yeah. Well, yes, exactly right. It's just dreadful, isn't it? I mean, even the good ones are bad. Even the... Sing! Carl says, no, don't done that one. Stop jumping the text around. I'm trying to read this. Sue says, been to Harefield Hospital, couldn't be more delighted. Read that one. John says, I hear Trump is already... Will you stop jumping the text around?
Getting them out of your way.
You're not getting them out of my way. It's like trying to read text on a roller coaster. It's just jumping all over the place. Not that I'm complaining about it.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Jim says, as private healthcare companies get all their doctors and nurses by pinching them from the NHS, even though us poor dopes have paid for most of their training, facilities and equipment, then when the Tories have completed the inevitable privatisation, where will they get their doctors and nurses from? And will we still have to pay for all their training through our taxes and be left to die in the street? Yes, Jim. That is exactly our future. But you'll have to book your place in the street to die ahead of time. Otherwise, they just won't let you. Cannock. Hello, Mel.
All right, mate.
Mel.
How are you?
Great, mate.
The NHS thing. The reason the NHS has been in trouble for a while, it was built for 40 million people originally. Now we've got about 70 million.
Well, we're not still stuck with the same number of hospitals and doctors and nurses. It increased in size.
Yeah, it hasn't got that much bigger. We seem to still have the same hospitals.
Well, that is true, yeah. Some are the same, yeah.
But as for doctors and nurses, I can't understand why they don't just... If the nurses and the doctors are willing to sign a contract saying they'll work for the NHS for 15 years, you train them for free.
Good idea.
If they don't want to do that, then they have to pay.
Yes. What's wrong with that?
And it's simple as that. Because then you'll get lots of nurses and lots of doctors.
Yeah.
So 15 years ain't that long. And then they can go and do what they want.
Yes. That's a good idea, Mel.
I should be an MP.
Yeah, well, OK, you get my vote.
Anyway, you take care.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Well, what's wrong with that idea? If you want to be a medic, then we, poor dopes who pay taxes, will pay for your treatment, your education, but all you got to do is sign on the line and say that you'll work for 15 years, or, whatever we decide, for the NHS, and you can't do private practice, and you can't go to Australia, and you can't go to New Zealand or anywhere like that, or Canada. That seems like a good idea to me. And then you'll get vast numbers of medics who won't have £100,000 in debts hanging over their heads when they graduate to become junior doctors and then go straight on strike. V says, well, let's hope Labour wins the election and the strikes will be over, as unions are under Labour umbrella. And they will get 40-50% rise. But then the likes of you and me, the taxpayers, will have to chip in, says V. Does any of that make sense?
No.
Not really. But good effort, V, if that is indeed your name. John says, what if Russia decide to invade us on the 23rd of April? That's a good point. That's a good point. Because on the 23rd of April, we're all going to get a big message on our phones. Our phones will go... I wonder what noise they're going to make, whether they have an extra special noise that our phones are going to make. Because I don't know about your phone. Of course I don't. Why would I? But my phone makes all sorts of noises. Sometimes noises that I don't recognise. Supermarkets keep telling me about their offers. God, I wish they'd stop. I'm not remotely interested in your blooming offer. I'm not in your supermarket right now. Why are you telling me about this? If it's not a supermarket, then it's some other some other business that I showed an interest in like 6 years ago, and never actually went through with spending any money with them. And they've been furious about it ever since. They just keep on and on and on, like texting me. And it goes bing, and it goes boo, and it goes and all sorts of weird noises. And some I just don't recognise at all. I'll be in one room, and my phone will be chirruping away in another room, and I'm thinking, what is that making that noise? Because my phone will never have actually made that noise before. So maybe the government's big message, when it's coming in on the 23rd, will have its own special sound. Could be anything. I mean, I hope it's this.
Warning, warning.
But John emails, if that's going to happen on the 23rd, this is a very good idea. He says, what if Russia decide to invade us on the 23rd of April? No one will take notice of the warning as they'll think it's a test. The Tories let Putin rootin' tootin' control the country, influence elections and launder money, and now they're telling him when to invade and stage a complete takeover. That's exactly what's happening. Oh, my God. John emails, the Tories in South Ribble, Lancashire, sent out leaflets with this fact, quotes, from debt-free to debt-ridden. Must be the first time they've told the truth this year. Is that your local Conservative Party? Because they appear to be rebranding themselves so as to make it appear as though they have no relation to the Tories in Parliament. Your local... what's this?
The noise of the alert.
Yeah.
It's going to be dead loud, and it's siren-like.
Siren-like?
Yeah. Siren-like beeps.
Right, but what if your phone is on mute?
I think it overrides it.
No.
I think it's an emergency. It'll have to.
What if I'm busy, doing things?
Well, I thought that. I thought if you're sat somewhere like the theatre and everyone's been kicking off about it recently and everyone's phone begins beeping, they'll be up in arms.
It also will look like one of those end of the world films, because if everybody's phone starts beeping at the same time, that does presage our imminent demise, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a countdown. 0345 6060 973. Ealing, Stuart.
Hello.
Stuart.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Stuart.
Yeah, so I just want to say am I supposed to feel this nervous when I'm on the radio? Like, past...
I know I do, but anyway.
You don't sound like you do. Well, how many people are actually listening?
3, including you.
I'm not nervous anymore.
Great.
I just want to say, first of all, I did read about the phones. It does override silence or mute.
Wow.
Yeah, it does.
Well, what time is it coming in? Because I might be asleep.
It's sometime in the afternoon, isn't it?
Well, what if I'm taking my disco nap?
Yeah, it does. It's not like Edward Snowden thing. It's not going to turn your phone on if it's off.
Ah.
But if it's on mute, yeah.
Right. Good plan. So I'm going to be turning my phone off.
But no, I just wanted to say, I'm a massive fan of the NHS. I've been really poorly over the last few years, and I've really accessed it. I've accessed it loads in the last few weeks.
Mm.
And I'd never kick someone down when they're on the knees. I think it's an amazing organism that seems to work, even though it's completely broken, kind of work. But I received a letter in the post about 2 or 3 weeks ago, just about an appointment that I had. And it was a poor woman that had a terrible diagnosis of breast cancer.
You had a letter that was written to a woman who had breast cancer, and they sent it to you.
They did, yeah, and it was a lot of personal stuff in this letter, because often when you're at consultants level, and you're seeing specialists, then they write to your GP too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a double communication in one letter. And so a lot of personal details. And I phoned the clinic and I said, look, you've written to the wrong person here. And they were really embarrassed. Really embarrassed.
I would think so.
Yeah.
They're lucky not to get sued into a black hole in space.
Yeah. And finally, I just wanted to say about books. You mentioned books about Stephen Fry. And I think that I reckon I'm probably quite dyslexic. And when I read a book, I hardly remember anything. And I notice that people that I know as well that I read a lot of books. Well, actually, it's audible.com. But the thing is, it's not that lazy because, in my opinion, when I finished a complex novel, and I discuss it with my friends who read page, the actual physical book, I know the book inside out. Compared to them that kind of like flick through. So I think, I know what you're saying about imagination. It's very, very true, the lack of imagination if you're being read to. But in actual fact, I think it's just another way of learning. And I heard many, many times, Stephen Fry talk about the subject too, and saying, he hasn't read a book in 20 years. And he's an incredibly intelligent man, isn't he? So I think
he hasn't read a book in 20 years.
That's right.
But he's the voice of those books. He's literally read those books.
Well, I guess there's an irony.
Unless he's so talented he can do it in his sleep.
Yeah, probably. But I think that, I think that said, I think that there is, for me, there's a deeper sense of learning if I hear the book.
Right. Well, that's an interesting concept, and a psychologist should look into it.
One of your regular callers, please.
No. 0345 6060 973. You don't need permission to be a regular caller. You just call regularly. That's all. Kay emails, is it just me, or does Sunak sound like he's still in shorts? Well, he looks like he's still in shorts. Furthermore, V, I've read that one. It didn't make sense the first time, so I'm not going to read that again. Gordon says, the best alert is the gong sound that announces the destination of the bus has changed in London. The best alert is the gong sound that announces that the destination of the bus has changed in London. I don't know what that sounds like. I've never heard of such a thing. When does the destination of the bus change? You mean people are on the bus and then the bus driver decides not to go where the bus is supposed to be going? Wow, that would be alarming. He says it sounds more like Sauron's doorbell. It's so doomy. Wow, you'd be gloomy if you were on a bus and they announced that it's not going where it says on the front of the bus. Sauron's doorbell. I am interested to know what the sound of the phone thing is going to be, but I better not be busy while it's going off because, people are going to have heart attacks when that thing goes off because they're not going to remember when it's going off. And what time of day, by the way. I don't like the sound of that at all. And I don't even know what it's going to sound like. And I still don't like the sound of it. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. So we've found out what it's going to sound like. Are you interested? There's this video that His Majesty's government have put out warning us about what the warning sound is going to be like. So it comes up on your phone all red, and it says, if I scroll along this video, it's going to appear very, very quickly because there's a woman talking alongside it. But the sound is as follows.
It looks like this
Emergency.
and sounds like this. Appearing on your screen until you acknowledge it.
So it's going to sound like that. Like some sort of robot screaming at you until you acknowledge it. God, people are going to leave their phone and then walk away from it, and they're not going to remember. And if they're in the theatre or the cinema, of course, morons don't turn their phones off because that would be being considerate. Everybody's phone is going to go off like that at the same time. That's alarming. It should be, I don't know, something more visceral, like this perhaps.
Do not panic! Do not panic! We are trained professionals!
Like that, something like that. That would make me pay attention. Boreham Wood. Hello, Alison.
Hi.
Alison.
The alarm is due to go off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 23rd of April.
I'm not okay with that. I'm going to be busy then.
Well, it was meant to go off in the early evening, but they didn't want it to clash with the FA Cup semi-final. So they've done that.
Right.
As you correctly said, it is going to be a siren.
Yeah.
It will break through all of the do not disturbs, silence, and everything like that. The only way to avoid it is if your phone is actually switched off.
Right.
Now, one thing I would suggest is anyone that is in a relationship which has domestic abuse and has a second phone that their partner does not know about, make sure that those phones are off.
Wow.
Before that time. Otherwise, that will become evident to your partner.
Yeah. Plus, if your partner is cheating on you, then the same goes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that one.
If you have
right.
that's a good thought there, Alison. If you have a super secret phone, then you better switch it off on, what's the date again?
23rd of April.
The 23rd of April. Otherwise, your little scheme will be uncovered.
Outed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Good thinking, Alison.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. This says, can you ask what old people do without a smartphone? Does it go off on normal phones? This is listeners asking. Well, you're asking me.
That was for you to ask her, but she's gone.
Oh, she's gone now. Well, what does she know?
She told me what she did for a living, so she would know.
What does she do for a living?
Well, I don't know.
MI5? MI6?
No.
Some sort of super secret organisation?
It's not secret, but she would be in the know.
Right, it's not secret, but you just can't tell me who she is.
I don't know, is it not GDPR?
It's not secret, he just can't tell me who she is, that's all. All of this information is widely available. I just can't tell you about it right now because it's not a secret. I understand. Di says, yes, there is a man... what? A learned doc on YouTube says that says that taking antibiotics frivolously suppresses our... No. No, that's wrong. A learned doc on YouTube says that taking antibiotics frivolously suppresses our immune system. Not if you take antibiotics, it frivolously suppresses our immune system. It's not having fun. He says, not good in a COVID-drenched environment. He advises gargling with sea salt or cider vinegar. Yeah, no thanks. Peter says, Donald Pinocchio Trump told American news anchor Tucker Carlson that police officers and court officials cried when he was arrested. Well, I believe that someone cried when he was arrested, but that it wasn't necessarily no officials.
Oh, shut up!
Exactly. That man, he just he just goes and goes and just continues to make money. Everything that comes his way is a money-making scheme.
I make $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, what difference does it make? Paul says, my neighbour's cat came in today and promptly started yakking up fur balls. Definitely a Tory, so kicked him out quite promptly. What does that mean? This show is confusing, and I'm doing it. Monica says, my late husband was a proper socialist. He grew up under Tito. What? The Jacksons? I couldn't believe my luck, says Monica. I'm sure there must be some decent Tories, although I think that's an oxymoron, whatever that is. It's an idiot who can't breathe. More information coming in from my sultry sidekick. It avoids the football, but is slap bang in the middle of the London Marathon.
Oh, no.
Oh, the excitement of people running. Why do people... it mystifies me why people go out and watch the marathon. What's the point of that? I mean, exactly, what are you looking at other than people just running by? I don't get it. I mean, they'll run by, and then what? Then more people that you don't know run by. How's that a thing? But people they're waving their little flags and, come on, you can do it. The London Marathon. I mean, I don't want to do it. I don't want to hear about it. I certainly don't want to see it, and I'm definitely not going there in person to view it. Not now, not ever, never. It's a no from me. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Okie dokie.
Monica texts, my late husband was a proper... no, I've read that already. Came right out of the break and repeated myself. Ian emails, talking about rats, as we were a while ago. Roland Rat. Looks like the spitting image of you-know-who. Talking about rats, New York has appointed a rats czar. There are rats everywhere, including in the word czar, he says, which is factually correct. Yes. Cruciverbalists will be all over that. Tsar. Rats. And Mary says, whenever I hear anyone mention Anne Widdecombe, I always remember the song Victoria Wood sung about her. Victoria Wood sung a song about Anne Widdecombe. That doesn't seem very likely. Does it? Victoria would be singing songs about chocolate hobnobs and, you know, the tiny details of life. Anne Widdecombe. That Anne Widdecombe. Upfield. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Andy.
I have no idea what it's all about, to be honest.
Okay, great. Glad you called.
I've literally jumped to know what the secret call phone thing is. It's the first time I listened to you, to be honest.
Yeah, and you've got no idea what's happening. No, I completely understand that. Yeah, it's going to sound like this.
Warning, warning.
Yeah, that's the phone. That's the noise that your phone is going to make. Something like that. Yeah, some sort of bell noise like that. When you hear that noise, then run to the nearest shelter. Promise me you'll do that, Andy.
Cool. What is it?
What is what?
Well, is it when Putin's going to attack, or...?
Yeah, that's exactly... Putin has penciled in an attack on the 23rd at about 3 in the afternoon. Please ensure that you are ready. Richie texts, regarding King Kong in 1933, you have no idea what you're talking about. Oh. Stop talking about films being old and black and white. Well, they are. It seems you have no artistic bone in your body. I know you like winding people up, but for God's sake, choose your weapons properly, says Richie, who's getting very upset about that whole rubbish King Kong movie thing. How can you be that exercised by an old black and white film from 1933, for crying out loud, that you write in to harangue someone you don't know about it? It was a rubbish film. Just saying, that's all. That gorilla wasn't real. Any fool know that. Whereas in the new one, you could see him with the, with both of your eyes, fighting dinosaurs and everything. What's not real about that? Gordon says, do you think the number one song in heaven by Sparks is on Rishi Sunak's playlist? He certainly seems to like his number ones. Is that another listener with material?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's the number one song in heaven by Sparks. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Rachel says, I can't see how the economy can improve post-Brexit. The US will do a trade deal with Ireland while the government will continue to waste money on illegal non-starter projects like Rwanda. Well, non-starter projects like Rwanda are top of Rishi's to-do list.
Under my leadership,
the government's priorities are your priorities. The people's priorities.
It's the people's priorities, says Rishi Sunak. Fishy Rishi. Mohammed emails, do you know where is the £350 million a week we saved by quitting the European Union? That was promised to be used for the NHS. Why not we use that money to resolve the mass and deal with the strike? What? Shall I read that again?
No.
No, it probably won't make any sense the second time either. But I think I get it. Where's that money gone? Precisely right. Curious minds would be keen to find out. There ain't no £350 million a week. That was an untruth. Liar! Yeah, just another way in which they tried to con you into doing something that was against your interests. Again. Bromley. Hello, Joe. Hey, Joe, what do you know? Too late. Glyn texts, Fishy Sunaka doesn't appear to be able to pronounce the word priority. He says priority. Maybe he doesn't really have any real priorities.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
Priority. He does say that, yeah. Maybe that's his get-out clause. He's not actually saying that it's his number one priority. He's saying it's his number one priority, which is a completely different issue entirely. Jackson via Alexa says, did you know that most GP surgeries are actually private companies? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's a complicated situation. But, you know, there's all sorts of private interest in the NHS. I mean, all those machines that go bing, for instance, they're all private. And the hot, delicious medicines that they give out, they're made by private companies as well. But that's not what you think of when you think privatisation. You think that, which is precisely the way we're going, that you're not going to get treated by an NHS doctor in an NHS hospital. You're going to get treated by the same doctor with his private clothes on in the private wing of an NHS hospital. And if on the NHS you need to, have one of your bits fixed, then the wait will be a year and a half. You're welcome. But if you want to get your bits fixed on, if you want to pay to go private, then the doctor will see you straight away. That'll be £250, please. That's what it is. You want to see the doctor for 5 minutes? £250, please. Ron says, in February I was in hospital for 8 days on Long Island. I got an invoice for the excess on my travel insurance for $118,000. Wow. I was in hospital for 8 days on Long Island. I got an invoice for the excess on my travel insurance for $118,000. Blimey. Yeah. And now there are other health services that are available. I mean, all sorts of good services that are done very, very nearby in Europe, which is so close you could spit that far. But that's not where we're going, I don't think. Because the people that are paying for the Republican Party in America also appear to be the same people that are paying for the Conservative Party here, which informs their direction of travel. So we're going Merca rather than, Germany or Spain or France or, one of those horrible countries. That's where socialism lives. Oh, we don't want that, do we? New York, Robert.
Hey, Nick.
Robert.
I hope you're holding on to your seat right now.
Yes?
I'm gripping it.
Carry on.
I think we need to get it out there.
Pardon?
Her name. Can you say her name?
Whose name?
The Queen's name.
The Queen? Who?
The Queen of England.
Elton John?
The Queen of the United Kingdom. Her name. Queen Camilla.
Oh, right. Not my queen.
That's not your... Well, I mean, she outwitted Diana. She outlasted Elizabeth.
Outwitted.
And now she is the survivor.
Yeah.
She is queen of the world.
Yeah, it's not a game show, Robert. Well, I guess it kind of is.
I mean, it feels like one looking at it from the outside.
From the outside,
Maybe I'm just...
yeah.
the last few years have been kind of with long COVID and,
It's been a confusing time, I understand. But looking in from the outside, it's less like a game show, more like a comedy show. It's like a sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we usually do spin-offs of your TV shows. Why are you guys doing anything we're producing? That just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, no, what you just said doesn't make any sense. I tried to follow it, but I got lost about halfway through.
The Office.
You want to have another go at that?
Dragon's Den
yes.
became the Shark Tank. The Office, most Americans think The Office is an American TV show.
Yeah, because that's in America. They made about 100 episodes, and in this country, I think he made 12.
Oh, you guys know how to cut it short. After the third season is too much after that.
Well, the reason why is because in Britain, a comedy is written by 1 or 2 people max. In America, a comedy is written by 20 people around a table. When they've squeezed all of the funny out of those 20 people, they discard them and bring in another 20. That's why those sitcoms last for 25 episodes a year, year after year after year.
You always learn something on this show.
Wow, it is educational, no? Yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Robert. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. John says, robot police dogs, did they learn nothing from RoboCop?
Affirmative.
Yes, they did. That's why they've got robot police dogs. And robot police dogs will beget robot police persons coming to a location near you. Nikki says, regarding people who say all political parties are the same, Richard Neville, a political commentator, once said, there may be only an inch of difference between Wilson and Heath, but it's in that inch that we live. And it certainly still applies today with Sunak and Starmer. Well, isn't that deep? You almost made me think there. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Hey, by the way, this show gets stuck up the internet as a podcast. Now, I know over the last few weeks it's been a little unreliable. It's not my fault. This show was like this when I got here. But I was about to say I am assured, but I am nothing of the sort. So I'll ask. Is it going to go up tonight?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, he said. Now, we mostly take the ads out. Mostly. And we take the news out as well, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And by that method, you'll be much, much richer. Richness is not guaranteed. Always read the label. Terms and conditions apply. But the only way to get it is to go to Global Player. Now, if you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, the magic phrase is, play Nick Abbot The Whole Show podcast. Because it does go up 2 ways. And this is really deeply confusing. It confuses me. But there is Listen Again, which is the entire show with all the ads and the news in it. So it will take you 3 hours to listen to. If you listen to The Whole Show podcast, then it's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. Much, much quicker. You'll love it. It's on Global Player, exclusive to Global Player. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. Nick Abbot, The Whole Show podcast.
See with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Bromley. Hello, Joe.
Hello, mate.
Joe.
Kim Jong-un I'd like to talk about him for a moment here.
Who?
He's launched Kim Jong-un, North Korea. He's launched his biggest missile ever. He's so proud of his biggest missile ever.
Biggest missile ever. Yeah.
Biggest missile. What kind of world are we living in? So this boy is so proud. His people are starving.
Mm-hmm.
They've got no food.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, isn't he good? He's got the biggest missile ever.
By the last poll that was taken in North Korea, Kim Jong-un is the most popular leader who has ever lived.
What is your impression of it? Do you think it's right? I don't think it's right at all. I think it's ridiculous. The man is insane. The man is insane. He's taunting.
Yeah.
He's vilifying.
Right.
He's doing all the wrong things in the world.
And yet, so successful. His people love him.
He must be a Tory.
That's the only explanation you can find. Right. Okay, thanks a lot, Joe. I had no idea. Kim Jong-un's a Tory. Can you believe that?
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
His name is Dominic Raab, and he's North Korean too. Which is a big news story.
A major capital letters, big news story.
He's probably North Korean as well. Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
He's not going to comment on that. So let's assume the worst. Is he in jail yet, by the way? No? Have they come to a decision? No decision yet, eh?
On Bodge?
Yeah.
No.
No, I would have heard about that. Yeah, we're still waiting. We'll keep them sweating until they deliver the verdict of not guilty. They ain't going to make him... they're not going to suspend him for 10 days or more. There's going to be no local by-election. Nothing like that's going to happen. He will go and sit in the House of Lords with his close personal friends. You know that he will. He ain't going to jail. He's going to the House of Lords. I mean, it's so bloomin' obvious. It's just painful. Nothing is going to come of it. Not now, not ever, never. Lessons must be learned is what we will learn about lessons being learned. Bodmin. Hello, Malcolm.
Oh, hello, Nick. Bit of breaking news on... I got homework for you.
Breaking news? Yeah.
But this is... I feel this is homework you will enjoy, and you will thank me next weekend if I happen to ring in.
Well, this sounds like one of those things where you go to the headmaster and he says that this is going to hurt you more than it hurts me. No, I don't. I don't thank you for giving me homework at the weekend. But, well, sir...
Let me run it by you. The news previews this evening. You got Harry Hill of Conservative Home, and you got
Harry Hill. What, the guy with the big collars?
Oh, Henry Hill.
Oh, Henry Hill.
Yeah, different fella.
Right. Who's that?
He's a bigwig in the Conservative Home.
Oh, it's right. One of those Henrys.
Yeah, well, that interview, that interview yesterday with Sunak was for Conservative Home.
Right.
But anyway.
And was it some Henry that did it?
Yes.
Right.
Henry Hill.
Okay.
And then you've got Susie Boniface of the left. So you've got the right and the left on the newspaper review. And both of them agreed wholeheartedly that Joe Biden is wasting American taxpayers' money. They're furious because they're wasting taxpayers' money.
Right,
and it's all
American taxpayers' money, yeah.
Yeah, because he's on a jolly in Ireland.
Yeah, and he drove about in a car with the Irish flag on it, but no Union Jack. How dare he? It's almost like he's being unpatriotic to this country.
This is the problem. He had 20 minutes in the bar of a hotel with Sunak,
yeah.
And he's had 3 days of an absolute ball around the Republic of Ireland, and the right-wing media are just not impressed.
They are
with
having
him.
a cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't he know who we are. We are the country that holds all the cards.
I know, was he playing that? But Susie Boniface was as comical as Henry in that she... I mean, you'll know as well as me that the left of the Labour Party, they hate all things American and American presidents, and I don't know whether you noticed, but it's a fact anyway, so I can say that.
Well, you should have said that before. It's a fact. Oh, I didn't know that. It's a fact.
The whole show, Nick, it really was... It made me sit up and go, my God, what's going on here? You've got the two wings of British politics, and almost sort of gets for the parties, and they're both attacking Biden for having a nice time in Ireland.
And one of them is attacking Biden because he's not putting Britain first, as though that's his job, and the other is attacking Biden because, he's American.
The American dream
let's face it.
is dead.
You've got the two sides of the Good Friday Agreement. You've got the Republic of Ireland and you've got the British government. And a fantastic thing, 25 years of peace. And Joe Biden did, I keep saying it, the sole reason for this visit is to commemorate or to celebrate 25 years in peace on the island of Ireland.
Well, there may be another reason.
But the point is, you've got the Tory party who, through the Bodger and Smug and whoever else, they've done almost everything they can to destroy it with their protocol, the border down the Irish Sea.
Yeah.
And they're slagging Biden off.
There can't be a borderline down the Irish Sea because Boris Johnson promised that no such thing would ever happen. Didn't you, Bodge?
True. But anyway, that's your homework, Nick. And honestly, I urge you to go. Sky show it every half an hour through the night, and you'll smile. It was
Hang on
comical.
a minute. Sky show what every half hour?
Their newspaper review. It's a half an hour slot. They do it 10:30, 11:30. Just looking at the papers, and they some are from the right, some are from the left.
They do that. They do that every hour, all the way through the night.
No, it's 10:30, 12:30.
Yeah.
10:30, 11:30, then 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. They show the half an hours again.
Again?
Yeah, over and over and over. Yeah.
You're kidding?
No. I kid you not.
There's a half hour. Is it a half hour program?
Yeah.
And they show it every hour.
Yeah, the first one 10:30. They get the first prints of the papers. Then by 11:30, some new news will have arrived, so they give you another half an hour then of the new news. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
I can't believe it. So I mean, if you've got an overnight shift, then you could basically just put your feet up and smoke a cigar for half of every hour that you're on because they're running a tape.
Absolutely, yeah.
God, don't tell Clive Bull that. He'll be furious.
But I urge you to go home and watch it, Nick. Anyway.
I most certainly will do nothing of the sort. But thanks for the good advice there, Malcolm. No, not now, not ever, never. I'm just not going to do it. I ain't going to go home and turn the TV on. I turn my brain off when I go home. I turned my brain off about an hour ago, as a matter of fact. I'm on like a slow cruise to a halt after about midnight. I refuse to do any thinking in the early hours of the morning. That is my religious belief. Are you criticising me for my religious belief? Oh, well, thank God for that. Josh texts, and he's got a good point. Are you listening?
Yes.
Josh texts, what a dull young man you work with. No sense of humour whatsoever. So typical of the snowflake generation. He is so right.
It's libelous.
It's not libel if it's true. Now then, I'll read all the texts and emails and such that I didn't get around to tonight. Tonight. Does that make sense?
No.
I'll do it tonight because I'm back at 10 o'clock. Now, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can listen back. Now, the magic phrase is play Nick Abbott The Whole Show podcast. It's on Global Player. It's exclusive to Global Player. You can only get it on Global Player. Nick Abbott The Whole Show podcast. That's how to get it. And if you've got Global Player, you can rewind live radio. I don't know how they do that. Seems like a magic trick to me. And you can get Global Player for free from your App Store or head to globalplayer.com. I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock. Coming up at 4 on LBC, Ian Payne. First, Clyde Ball.